Welcome to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast, where we are building a community of people who are in the midst of midlife, sharing our stories and learning from each other along the way. Each week, I'll have a guest join me to discuss a topic that impacts our lives and touches on some aspect of midlife. We'll discuss relationships, transitions, health and well-being, parenting, careers, and more. My goal is to encourage and support you and help you thrive as you navigate this adventure of midlife. Join me here each week for the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast. This season is all about powerful perspectives, real stories, and fresh insights from incredible women who are thriving, growing, and redefining what it means to live fully in midlife. This week, I'm joined by Lisa Lopez. Lisa is a certified happiness coach and owner of Live Happy Coaching. She helps women over 30 who've checked all the boxes on what they thought would make them happy, but still feel stuck or unfulfilled. Discover true happiness that leaves them inspired, energized, and excited about what lights them up each day. In this episode, Lisa and I talk about the power of friendship, how we can reframe the way we think and talk about making friends, and how Lisa's friendship agreements help foster deeper, more meaningful connections. We also explore why strong friendships with other women are essential to a joyful, fulfilling life. Lisa Lopez, welcome to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I am so excited you are here as well. It has been so much fun getting to know you. We've had a couple of Zoom calls. We do not live near each other, so we only know each other virtually via Zoom, but it has been so much fun to get to know you, and I'm so glad that you're here today. We are going to talk about a topic that I think a lot of people are thinking about in middle age. And I mean, it can be in any season of life, but I think in middle age, it takes maybe kind of a different perspective or a different turn. We're going to talk about friendship in midlife. I know you're doing some work around that, and I'm excited to have this conversation because it's been very timely for me personally, I know, and for some other people that I know. And so I can't wait to get into all of that. But before we do, could you introduce yourself to the listeners and share a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. So I am Lisa Lopez, and I am a certified happiness coach, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I'm the founder of Live Happy Coaching, and I'm also the founder of Self Love Retreats for Women. And then I have a local business called the Beauty Boost Flagstaff. And all of those businesses are really about creating safe places for women to connect and grow. And outside of those roles, I am a mom of two adult sons and a grandma to two grandsons and a new granddaughter. And I live in northern Arizona, so Flagstaff, Arizona, which is halfway between Sedona, which many people are familiar with, and the Grand Canyon. So I am living in the mountains, beautiful mountains here in
Love it.
northern Arizona. I'm originally San Francisco native, and so I relocated here about 3 years ago, and I just really love it. But it also, as we're speaking today, it just really put me in a very uncomfortable position of recreating myself in an unfamiliar community. And that really sparked my interest around this connection piece and making new friends as adults. So I'm excited to share my learning with all of you today.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, first of all, congratulations on the new little granddaughter. I bet that was exciting after all the boys. Nothing wrong with having all the boys in the family, but I bet that when you found out you're having a little granddaughter, it was like, oh, yay, yay, a girl,
Yes.
yay.
Yes, yes, completely different energy in our family
I
now.
bet, I bet. Kinda shift the tides, like, "Come on, yeah, a little more estrogen here, that's what we want that." That is great, and yeah, when you're describing where you live, just absolutely beautiful. I mean, gosh, but to your point, coming into a new community, a new environment, and having to make connection, presents some challenges. You and I met actually, again, virtually, but through Jody Stepanek. So Jody, thank you so much for introducing Lisa and I. I'm so glad that she did that because we had this conversation about this work you have been doing around friendship and connection and what you are uncovering in that. And so I am really looking forward to speaking with you about this. You have been doing work in this space. And so many people recently have shared with me, and they're women my age. I mean, I'm 51, so kind of in that middle age season. They've shared how challenging it can be to make and sustain friendships. I think, when we're younger, right, we are so wrapped up in whether it's growing our careers, starting and raising our family, we're in that day to day grind of kids and things. Or even if you don't have children, you're in the day to day of building career. There's so much going on. And I think when you hit middle age and you're in a different season, maybe you've got older children, maybe you're more in that mid to late career where things are kind of I don't want to say coasting because it isn't, but it's just a different stage of career. It can be hard to either make new friends or sustain current friendship. What makes this kind of challenging for people and what can we do about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, you spoke into it beautifully, Nicole. Those are some of the challenges, right? Like most of our early adulthood is maybe, going into the career mindset and then, raising kids and things like we're kind of in fight or flight. We're in survival mode, right? And so when we activate that portion on our brain, we are hyper focused. We're hyper focused at getting A and B done, like, and we don't feel like we have the bandwidth to do anymore. There's a lot of sensations of overwhelm and I'm too busy. And so we start creating this narrative that really limits our ability to see what's possible in terms of nurturing relationships at that time of life. And so, yes, as we gradually have more space, we're really comfy in our career now, right? We've got our degrees, our kids are a little bit older and independent, and things start to settle down. Then we have this awareness of, oh, hey, I don't like have anybody to go do things with now because my kids are doing their own things and I'm kind of, feeling a little bit lonely. Like, where are my friend groups at? So that's part of the reason is that we just aren't very intentional as making it a priority as we grow. And so a lot of people have arrived at this time of life and then lost that skill set that was so natural to us as young children. Nobody thought about how to make friends when you were younger. It was just a very natural, organic thing to do. You were put in situations where that type of connection was nurtured and encouraged. You would gently be kind of coaxed into situations with other people and even paired up, right? Think about the activities we did in school. We would always be paired up in groups and partners and things like that. Well, that doesn't happen as adults. And so it's really about number one, now just holding a compassionate place for yourself. One of the things that I really encourage people to do is stop saying it's hard to make friends. Like
Guilty
you
as
say that.
charged. Yep. I need to stop. I need to stop.
Yeah, because when we're constantly saying that, that becomes our truth. It ingrains this really difficult belief in us, and it innately causes fear around the idea of creating friendships. So, modifying in that a way that feels more like a growth mindset of like, I'm getting better at making friends every day, right? That feels more open. It feels more
Yeah.
possible for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be like definitely the first thing I would encourage everybody to do.
Love that. I love that because I don't tend to
And then
do
moving from
that.
there, yeah. Yeah. Most people don't, but like just recognizing how it feels when you say that out loud. Like, how does it feel for you when you say to yourself, it's hard to make friends?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's very defeating, right? I immediately, to your point, it puts you in this posture of feeling defeated and not hopeless. So it's not that dire, but it's kind of that like, well, okay, I can't do that. So, yeah, I think it needs to be a shift of I can make friends. I'm doing this a little bit better each day. I'm taking intentional steps to do that. That just that self-talk, that's the way we speak to ourselves about things that are we might perceive as challenging is important. So, thank you for pointing that out. I'm going to start reframing that. for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other, probably the biggest obstacle to making new friends is that we don't adjust our life to invite more friends in. We continue to like fill our schedules, or, there's nowhere on your calendar where you're making friend dates. So that's another thing, is that oftentimes we say, I want to make new friends, but we just don't create that opportunity for ourselves. And so when that person reaches out, it's constantly a no, or not yet, or I can't, or anything like that. And so that can feel really defeating to someone trying to be a friend to you. And over time, it fizzles out, because the other thing that happens is our negative narrative comes in and tells us they don't want to be friends with me. It becomes super personal
Right.
versus just a time adjustment that needs to happen. Yeah, so those would be the two biggest challenges that I would say.
Gosh, yeah, I think about that and I think one thing I've had to really be intentional about, I think in just the last few months is either seeking out opportunities on my own or when I have been invited to things instead of my first instinct being, oh, no, that's in the evening. I just wanna lay, on the couch in my PJs and, watch television or whatever. Like, say, "No, okay, wait a minute. What is this maybe opening up for me? What is who this person is reaching out to me to invite me into something." I can think of something right now that's on the top of my mind that I was invited into a few months ago, and my first instinct was, "Oh, no," or "Those people might be younger than me," or, and then I thought about it and I thought, "Wait a minute. I'm wanting to make more connections. Why would I not do this? Why would I not try it and just step out in faith a little bit and give myself an opportunity to make friends? If I say no, and maybe it isn't exactly what I'm looking for, but if I just give it a one time yes and try it, it really could be great. And it turned out to be great. And I have met some amazing people through this invitation that was extended to me. And I'm continuing to attend events through this group that I'm invited to now. So, I mean, it can be a little scary, right? It can be a little, like, oh God, a little unsettling, like, oh gosh, I don't know if this is for me. And not everything has to be for you. I mean, if someone invites you to coffee or dinner or whatever, and it's not, a great connection, maybe give it one more chance. Or, you decide, yeah, this isn't really, a relationship I want to spend a ton more time on, but don't step away from those opportunities. Like you said, create the space in your schedule for those opportunities and try it, and just because you do something with someone one time doesn't mean you're locked into a relationship with them forever. It might just be a connection, or they may know someone or something that you want to get pulled into. So I love both of those things. Reframe the way that you think and speak about it, and then also create the opportunities to be engaged with other people, because people aren't just going to flock to you. Most of the time it's you having to kind of go to other people and find common
Yes,
spaces.
absolutely. Being
Yeah.
intentional. But you said a couple of really important things. Number one, it is an important exercise to get some clarity on what type of relationships you want to welcome into your life, because you may want something that is, very superficial. Some, like, you want to attend fitness classes with somebody, you want company on coffee dates occasionally, or maybe you're looking at something more deep, but you really want to have that companion who you trust with, maybe, your secrets, or your
Mhm,
frustrations, or things like
mhm,
that. And so
mhm.
understanding what it is that you're welcoming in your life is important, because you want to speak into that also, when you are, with those new people, and kind of seeing if that might be the potential fit for you. You being clear is really an important step with that, right? Otherwise, you're kind of just inviting random stuff in. And the other thing is that it's going to feel a little bit challenging because you're creating a new habit.
Mm,
And new habits are pushing you out of your regular comfort zone into something new. So, feeling sensations like some resistance, a little bit of lack of motivation is your brain again trying to keep you in the safety zone. So, being brave and having confidence and recognizing that this is something that is really valuable to you at many different levels. Connection is the number one predictor of a happy life.
mhm,
Number
mm,
1. All the science supports this.
mhm.
And so it's also having those relationships that do go a little bit deeper. They know a little something about you and care about you, and you know a little bit about them and you care about them. So it's not these social interactions on social media or like at networking groups. It is something that has a little bit deeper roots in terms of your experience and how it makes you feel.
Yeah. I love that you pointed that out. I have read the same thing about connection being a predictor, the predictor of a happy life. And that's so powerful when I think I hear a lot of people even saying, in the midst of, you brought up social media, of having a way to connect with other people. And again, it's online. It's not the kind of the more deep, meaningful connection that you were talking about. People have never felt more lonely, right? We have all these ways to connect with each other now, right? It can be in person, it can be electronic, which again isn't ideal, but sometimes with distance and stuff, it has to be that way. But people have never felt more lonely, right? They've never felt more disconnected. And so I think being intentional about this, carving this space out, also to your point about having an expectation in your mind of what do I want this connection or friendship to be, right? Maybe it is just a person to get coffee with or, do things like that with, or do I really want that deeper, more meaningful connection and friendship where we are sharing more kind of personal things. I'm a part of a mother's group. It's all through Marco Polo. It's a video messaging app. So we've met each other twice in person, but we all live all over the country. So we can't just, walk down to each other's houses or drive even to each other. We're all so far apart. And so, um, but what I will say is that from the beginning, because of the purpose of the group, we immediately started to connect with each other on a much deeper level than I've really maybe connected with anyone in my life because we're moms of neurodivergent children. And so we're talking about parenting and the struggles and challenges and joys and all of that. But almost from day one, I thought, we were all paired up into a group based on the age of our kids. And I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to connect with these people? I don't know them, never met them. I'm on a video messaging app, which feels kind of weird at first. Now it is like the most natural thing in the world. And when we met for the first time, it felt like I'd known them my entire life. And it was the most amazing thing ever. And I consider them to be some of my best friends that I could tell anything to. Again, very unconventional way that we all met, and the fact that we committed to meeting in person once a year. But I doubted really at first that first day, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to navigate this? And it turned out to be one of the best things in my entire life. Now, that isn't always how those things turn out, right? That's not, online things aren't always that way. But because I think of the nature of our relationship and the purpose of why we were all pulled together into a group, really was that common denominator, that factor that helped with that. But to your point, I think knowing what you're looking for in relationship, in connection, in friendship is super important because I think it kind of not dictates, but kind of steers you into how much time you want to invest, how much of yourself do you want to put out there and share. So I think that's really important to consider before we start to reach out and make those connections. um when we were talking about this episode, you shared something that you have been doing related to setting expectations with friends. I think it kind of ties into kind of knowing what kind of relationship we want with someone. Can you share more about what you have been doing when sharing your expectations with friends, and why would we want to do that, and what's helpful about that, and how do we go about doing that in the best way?
I'd love to share this experience. So first I want to just clarify it's not an expectation, and I'm going to tell you why I want to point that out because an expectation is usually created, it's a one-sided creation and often leads to disappointment. And so
Yep.
expectations, yeah. So they're, what I create with my friend groups and individuals are agreements. And the difference between expectation is agreement is an agreement is when two parties are coming together and they are sharing what's possible for them. And then they're negotiating if that works for them. And so they're very clear. Both sides are very clear on what's possible and what they'll bring to the relationship. And I started to do this when I was meeting a lot of people, making new friends, and I found myself at times feeling very disappointed or judgmental about our interactions. And it dawned on me at that time that I had made expectations, but I had not talked to them about it. So I didn't know their side of the story. And so from that point on, when I make friends, now let me be clear too, this didn't happen on conversation number one. Because the other big message I want to send to everybody listening is relationships take some time, right? It's not necessarily an overnight connection. Sometimes it is, and you could go deep quick. Maybe it just lines up. You have all these things in common. It's the universe has put you together for a specific reason, and you feel it like full body. Yes, this is my people, and you can do that, but not always, right? So you need to just use some discernment when it comes to this process. But what it entails is you letting that person know what you're looking for in a relationship and how and what feels good for you too in terms of interaction. So for like example, I really love getting phone calls versus texts. I'm more of an extrovert than an introvert. I'm looking for somebody who will join me on hikes a couple times a month. And I love being invited to things. So I don't want it to be a one-way street where I'm always doing the inviting. Super clear, this is what I'm thinking like, maybe 1 or 2 hours a week would be super fun. And then that person has opportunity to respond. I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. I actually don't even respond to texts on a regular basis. So if you text me, it may be hours, days, maybe weeks before I text you back. And it's just because I don't like having my phone on me and it's not something that I value. I would probably commit to a friend date maybe once every other month, right? So you start to see what each person has to bring to the relationship. And then, when you have free time, is this your people? Is this the person you're going to reach out to? Or is this something that's going to happen more like on a quarterly basis, right? Or like, so now there's not that disappointment or again, those expectations not being met. You really see and accept and meet that new friend right where they're at without judgment. And what has happened as a result of this is that I have a lot of friends at different levels, but it feels empowering and not disempowering. And it has made me, enjoy those relationships on their own terms versus trying to make that relationship fit into maybe like a hole that doesn't fit, right? So and then abandoning it and then feeling like, oh, it's me or it's just so hard. Like, again, reinforcing that negative behavior and belief that we have in our heads. So this has been a real opener for me in terms of just enjoying my relationships more.
Gosh, I love that. I love everything about that. And I love that you clarified that it's an agreement because you're absolutely right. It has to be both people. They have to both kind of come to the table with their perspective. And so clarifying that, gosh, I think about all the relationships I've ever had and how if I would have done, something similar, because you're right. Everybody has different preferences and different things that they would like to have in a relationship, in a friendship. And for you to be able to clarify a lot of that up front, or like you said, not on conversation one, maybe, but as you're getting to know the person and you're finding there's some commonalities there, some common interests, and you're like, yes, I would like to really invest in more of a relationship with this person. And then bringing all of that up, like, gosh, you think about all the times you've sent a text to someone and they don't respond and they don't respond. And then that's right. We start to think, oh gosh, did they not want to talk to me? Are they mad at me about something? What did I do? When really they just may not have their phone on them all the time. Maybe they really have some boundaries around their phone and they don't keep it with them that much or something. I mean, it could be something so simple. And when you clarify that and have that understanding, wow, or even with time, you mentioned that you might want to have more frequent interactions with this person. You might want to see them more often. And they're just like, gosh, I would love to, but I can't commit to that right now. I have X, Y, and Z happening in my life right now. And so I could maybe do once a month, but I can't do once a week. And again, and you can decide like, yeah, that is enough for me. I really want to be with this person. So once enough is great, or once a month is great for me. I'm good with that. Gosh, that would just really, I think, make relationships go so much smoother and be so much more enjoyable for everyone involved if we would clarify those things and have that kind of agreement. And I don't think it's that you can't go outside of that agreement a little bit. If someone's life has some changes and it opens more time on their calendar, or or the opposite happens, I think it's important to revisit that agreement and clarify, oh gosh, this just happened. I'm not going to be able to get together for a while, or, just being upfront about that. And I think that's super helpful. I love that practice. And I would encourage anyone listening that if you have relationship or friendship right now that you're like kind of like, gosh, I'm not really sure where this all stands. Maybe and you're comfortable enough with that individual, have that conversation. And it might just help to clarify some things and just really, really help with that relationship. I love that. So
Yeah,
we
I would
also,
just
oh yeah, go ahead.
sorry. I just
No,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
add, I want to add to this, like just imagine for a moment that somebody approached you and said to you, I really value this friendship and I want to know how it is to be in a relationship with you. Like what's important to you? What do you like? How do you show up in the world? Holding that space for somebody to really get to know them, and again without judgment, and them just sharing from their heart what they need in their life right now, is the foundation of a healthy relationship. It is the foundation. They may never, and this is the responses I've had, I have never had anybody ask me what I want or need.
Wow.
Wow, in their entire lives they've never had anybody ask them that. So this can really start to create something incredibly powerful and healing for the women that you're in relationship with, or any relationship for that matter, by having this conversation.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's just like a kind of a gift that you're giving to that person, and how impactful that could be. Even just like you said, having people tell you, no one's ever asked me about that. And so for you to be able to offer that to them right there, like you said, just makes that connection even stronger. And shows that person like, I really care about you and I care enough for us to have this conversation. And that's just powerful. Wow. I hadn't even thought about it that way. That's great. We had also talked about how men can't always be our emotional container. We were talking about female friendships specifically, because a lot of us, if we're in a relationship with a man, that their ability to be our emotional go-to person isn't all doesn't always work out that well, or to what we may need in our lives, and that female friendship can be a better way to do that. Can you explain that a little more and why that is? Why is that important?
Absolutely. So, first of all, we need to understand that we have been socialized to turn away from female relationships. We have been shown that women are competition and cannot be trusted. I mean, this is given to us through all forms of media, through different shows, movies. It's even modeled to us in our family of origins. You may have had a mother who didn't have deep relationships. Her relationships were all in her family. There weren't that many relationships outside of the home. So, we, from a very early age, this is ingrained in us. So, what happens when you turn away from women? Who do you turn to? men.
Yep.
You turn to men.
Yep.
And the reason that is that doesn't work is because women and men have different emotional needs. We speak different languages, and we all know this to be true. How many times have you gone to your partner and shared something and it's just kind of fell on deaf ears? The connection wasn't there for you as you shared. The response fell short of what felt like comfort or acknowledgement or a space of understanding that you were hoping for. Well, ladies, it's not your husband's fault. It's not your partner's fault. They just don't have the same capacity. And that's not a bad thing or a good thing. We just need to understand a couple of things, which is we need each other as women. No other time has been more important for us to heal the wounds that have been created among sisters and come together again to provide the type of support that we used to thrive in when we were in tribes and villages hundreds of years ago, right? Those ecosystems were powerful. We were all there for each other and it worked. But as we became again socialized, we turned away from that. And so we started to substitute all of this. But it's just not going to work. They just can't be that container for us, no matter how emotionally present your husband is. I have a husband who's incredibly great, in that way, but still, it's just not the same. And so we need to understand the value that is there in cultivating those female relationships at many levels.
Oh my gosh. Yes. 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 I was just nodding my head as you were saying all of that. I think as women, I completely agree with you. I think that there's like a scarcity mentality almost, like there's not enough room for all of us. So we're socialized to be, like you said, be in competition with each other, to think of it like that. And so we tend to not, or haven't in the past, always turned to each other in the way that we could or should, or that we truly need for ourselves to feel fulfilled in all areas of our life. And like you said, it's nobody's fault, right? It's not someone's fault. You can have the most present, engaged, loving, caring partner in the world, but he's just not maybe going to be able to fulfill that component of you in that the way that you need him to do it. And so female friendship is where that can be found. And I think to kind of go back to what we were saying at the beginning of the episode, many of us maybe didn't make room for female friendship because we were in that survivor mode with small children and, crazy career life or whatever happening. And now we're finding ourselves in more of the middle age of life going, oh my gosh, I don't have the female friendships that I would like to have. So I'm glad you clarified that because I think many people do look to their partner for that. And again, and you can, and like you said, with your husband, you have a great husband, but is that going to fulfill that need that you have for that female connection, that female friendship that you really truly need? So I love that. Thank you for addressing that. So if someone is listening right now and they would like to make new friends, they would like to make more space in their life for friendship, or just do a better job of sustaining the friendships that they have, what encouragement would you share with them? And what is something that they can do today to help them move closer to this goal?
I would start by just encouraging anyone listening to just put your hand over your heart for a moment and just go within and just close your eyes and be with yourself and give yourself encouragement. It's okay, sister. People do want to be in relationship with you. They're just waiting for the invite. And allow yourself to really feel that, that it's okay that you're at this place in life, meeting yourself where you're at with that unconditional love and get excited. Allow yourself to feel excited about the opportunity to connect more often. And I always say, revisit your existing friend list. those people are on your list for a reason. Maybe it's been a couple years, but at some point in time, there was something about that person that really lit you up. And so go to that friend list. And this is something that I do every Monday morning. I think I shared this with you. Is I go to my cell phone and I go to my contact list and I literally just kind of just go through it, let my finger land on a contact, and I send them a Monday morning text. Hey girl, thinking about you. Hope you have a great week.
I
And I
love
just like send it.
that.
I just send it. And sure enough, that person either responds with something positive, thank you, oh my gosh, it's so great to hear from you. And that can be a really easy in to starting that conversation again and inviting them into your life more. So start with your existing list, doing something cute like that, like a reach out, little tiny text or something, or phone call or email, whatever feels right for you. And celebrate. I did it. I reached out, like I started the process. This should be fun. This should not feel like another thing to do. It should not be shrouded in judgment and not enoughness. So you want to make sure to make this something that inspires you and is motivating. So just start small. If for some reason you have lost contact with those people and that's not an option for you, then Nicole, you said it perfectly. Find something you love to do, right? Mama's groups, fitness class, whatever. Sign up. You're going to be doing something you love. And then set of intention. I'm going to say hi and introduce myself to one person at that class when I go, right? So that's just something really simple just to start the process. But with your own encouragement, with your own celebration, this will be something that will grow over time. So that would be my advice how to get started.
I love that. Oh my gosh. That practice of scrolling through your contact list on your phone. How simple is that? It's just a simple, straightforward, and it's funny. I have actually done that since you and I talked. I've done that a couple of times to people that I hadn't talked to in a while. And one of them was going through a really hard time. And when she got my text, and again, I just kind of random, like you, I thought, oh, I haven't texted her in a while. I'm gonna check in. And she'd been going through a hard time. I was like, oh my gosh, your text just made my day. Thank you so much. You literally don't know what someone else might be going through. And like, so on one hand, it might be, oh my gosh, great to hear from you. Yeah, let's get together. Let's have coffee. Or, hey, just great to hear from you. Or it could be you might be reaching someone and they are struggling and you can be a support for them, even if it's just some text exchanges. If that's all it turns into, if they can't, make space to get together right in the moment. And this person and I that were texting, she's like, you know what? She was going to do some traveling. She was like, when I get back, let's have lunch. I'm like, great. And you just reminded me, I need to text her again because she's back and I need to reach out so we can get together. So that is a super simple, straightforward thing to do. And I also love the fact of, a practice that we could do is to find something we enjoy and do that. I have done that as well. And it has helped tremendously. One, just to get me out there and kind of meeting people, but also getting to do something I enjoy. It's like a double win, right? And like you said, set that small goal. Just introduce yourself to one person. I love that. Oh gosh, both of those things are just fantastic. And also encouraging yourself. You talked about this at the beginning of the podcast was speaking truth to yourself and encouragement to yourself about this process because we're all worthy and deserving of meaningful connection and friendship and being in each other's lives. And so I'm so glad that you reminded us to do that because I don't think we do that enough, encouraging ourselves from within. And that's really powerful when we get into that habit of doing that as well. So this has been such a great conversation. I think we could talk for a long time about friendship. I might even think about doing more episodes about friendship because I think it's just such an important topic and something that we don't talk about enough. And I think, again, back to what you mentioned before about social connection, being connected to people, having relationships is a important component of living a fulfilled and happy life. So, definitely got my mind turning about some things I would like to explore with that topic. So, thank you, Lisa, so much. I will include in the show notes where you can find Lisa and all the great work that she is up to. Please check out her website and her offerings. She's doing some really cool things. So, check it out. And Lisa, thank you so much for being on today. This was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. This has been so fun.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow the show to make sure the latest episode is on your podcast feed each week. I would greatly appreciate a rating and a 5-star review on the podcast platform you're listening on. It helps others to find the show. If there are topics you'd like me to discuss on the show, please email me at themarvelousmiddleagepodcast@gmail.com or direct message me on Instagram at Nicole Stute. Thank you for listening.